Hey everyone, we're back for another week chatting AI news. I'm Jill Berkowitz, a community manager here at Clerk Chat,
Hi guys, I'm Will. I'm our AI implementation specialist.
and we are going to chat 4 topics today. The first being one way AI is now being used in the fashion industry. I obviously found that interesting. A continuation of our conversation from a couple weeks ago about OpenAI's availability in China. Microsoft and Apple are no longer taking board seats for OpenAI. And the last thing I really wanted to share is actually not necessarily immediate news. It's something from a few weeks ago, a podcast that I listened to by Lex Fridman. There's a particular episode that I'd love to chat about and get some insight from you because it is about Perplexity, and that is something we have talked together on the show. So first one, Michael Kors AI styling assistant helps shoppers find the perfect date outfit. The Michael Kors brand is adopting a new tech called Shopping Muse, which is a virtual retail assistant from Dynamic Yield, a MasterCard company. It uses generative AI and personalization capabilities to help shoppers who need help quickly and accurately. So I tried it. I said, but this is so interesting. If you go onto the Michael Kors website, on the bottom left is a Your Style Assistant option with like that little AI icon, I guess. And you can either type in your specific request or click one of 4 options that they already give you. So I typed, I'm recording a podcast episode. Please help me find an outfit. Sure enough, it worked. And I even asked it to revise for something a bit more professional because it showed jeans. And I said, oh, well, maybe I don't want to wear jeans today. But let's also talk about the tech and the safety for a moment. There was a disclaimer on the bottom, which many AI products have, that says Style Assistant can make mistakes. Consider double checking important information. With something like fashion, I think this is probably a CYA scenario because in using it, it was just giving me images from the website that I probably could have found myself. So my question is kind of wondering how might a possible wider adoption of AI-powered shopping assistants like this one impact the fashion industry as a whole?
Yeah, I think it's super interesting. I'm also going to try Michael Kors out after this, see if I can get a good outfit for myself.
I was about to say, I want to know what happens when you try it, see what it suggests for you.
See what it says. Yeah, next week I'll be wearing whatever they suggest. But yeah, it's got quite a big potential. And I actually saw earlier today another AI style assistant. I think a lot of big companies will be including these on their websites. But I even saw one that was a third-party company that was dubbed like the Tinder for fashion. And it basically like suggests outfits to you and you like swipe right or left if you like it or not. And then it learns what you like and it gives you like, outfit recommendations. So yeah, I think it's going to completely change the way that we shop online and the way we talk to, as you would like go into a high-end store, you go into Michael Kors store and you would say, oh hey, I'm working, can you get me like 3 outfits that are appropriate? You can just, well, we'll end up doing it to our style assistant, our AI style assistant.
It's actually so interesting. I don't know how you do your online shopping or if you even online shop, but I do all the time. And I always click those 3 lines or 3 dots, whatever, go to the menu, and I automatically go to whatever category that I'm looking for because I don't normally shop and browse. I usually either go intending to find day dresses or maybe I need a bathing suit or maybe I'm looking for more tops. And then I get stuck on the, oh, this would look great with this, and all the suggestions. So I don't know how likely I would be to use that, but I'm wondering if people who like to have something like a personal shopper, as an example, or their personal stylist might consider going for something like this instead, especially if they happen to really love one brand and they trust it and they know the sizes fit and it's reliable.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And also another case is people that enjoy actually browsing on shopping, right? Like people that go to a website and they enjoy browsing and they might buy something, but the browsing is what's fun. And this kind of takes that element out of online shopping. So you're right, it'll be interesting to see how it gets adopted and if it's a widespread thing or if it's like, 10% of our customer base are using this AI tool to get recommendations and the rest just do it the normal way.
Something I'd like to know, which I don't have the answer to, is what made Michael Kors as a brand decided to test this out. Maybe I'll have to reach out to them and see if I can get an answer.
Yeah.
So let's tackle our next topic. OpenAI may not be available in China, but Microsoft Azure China might offer an unexpected loophole. So last week, or I guess a couple weeks ago, because we actually didn't chat last week, we had discussed OpenAI's decision to block API access for users in China, which, by the way, was effective as of a couple days ago, July 9th. And now TechRadar reported that people with access to Azure cloud services will still be able to use GPT-powered generative AI functionalities in China. I've learned that the US is considering a bill, maybe you're familiar with it, to simplify the process of blocking AI technology sales to China. And if the bill is passed, I don't know what process it's in at the moment or what stage, it could prevent Microsoft from selling OpenAI models to customers in China in the future. One question that I have is how might the development of AI technologies be impacted if more countries become more protective of their own innovations?
I saw this article too that OpenAI had blocked their API access to China. And I think it was honestly inevitable that it got to this state where countries would be banning another country from using their technology because it's so powerful and if you don't have access to the cutting edge, you are at a disadvantage. I mean, ideally, it would be great if everyone could use it, right? If, companies in China could use the API to build whatever they want, just as anyone in the US or Europe can. That being said, I saw related to this a AI company in China that the name has escaped me, but they just released a new model that beat ChatGPT on like 5 out of 8 metrics. They're like a 5 out of 8 main metric. This is what they claim.
Wow.
That being said, is this really going to hinder Chinese businesses? Probably not. They've got companies in China building just as good large language models as in the US. So yeah, and becoming almost a sort of race as happened with space and weapons and other things.
I was just about to say that, just like the space race, right? Now we're in the AI race.
Exactly.
So the third topic, Microsoft and Apple ditch OpenAI board seats amid regulatory scrutiny. I believe I read this one from The Verge. The news is exactly what it sounds like. Microsoft no longer has a board seat for OpenAI, which was a non-voting seat, by the way. As the company says, they feel confident in OpenAI and no longer need to observe it as closely. I'm assuming the response is also similar from Apple and why they don't have a board seat. Alternatively, OpenAI will be holding regular stakeholder meetings, and many news outlets, however, are reporting this choice is related to the concern over big tech being highly invested or tied to AI companies, and maybe this would take away some of that scrutiny. I wonder if we might see a similar trend of other big tech companies distancing themselves from AI companies to avoid the regulatory scrutiny. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's probably something that will end up happening. I'd be interested to know actually what regulations they were trying to avoid, whether it was kind of AI safety or something else. And I think one area of regulation that could be really important is kind of monopoly and fair play regulation. So if you've got Microsoft who's building their own AI, and then they also own 10% of OpenAI, and they're also investing in another 100 AI startups, how much of the AI market does Microsoft actually, own, right? Probably more than 20%.
Right. I think that's the argument. I think that's probably part of the rationale and why Microsoft is taking a step back to take a little less light off of them.
I see. Okay, so you think it's monopoly regulation, or that?
I think so.
It's so new and so big companies got on board quickly. It naturally means that there's more people that will have a larger market share of the AI market, big tech, for example. But I think that kind of the playing field levels as it gets into hands of more people. And I know we talked about Hugging Face and some grants that they have to kind of level that playing field. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
The last thing I really wanted to share with you, I don't know if you ever listened to the Lex Fridman podcast. I was introduced to it about a year ago, actually. So I happened to catch an episode that he put out probably 3 weeks ago at this point with Aravind, Srinivas, the Perplexity CEO. And the name of the episode is Future of AI Search and the Internet. Perplexity, for those listening, is part search engine, part LLM. Aravind actually describes it as an answer engine because you ask it a question, you get an answer. Except the difference is all the answers are backed by sources. Aravind also refers to Perplexity as a knowledge discovery engine. If you recall the last episode that we recorded, I kept referencing the importance of reliable sources. So I think it's awesome that Perplexity shares the sources where it scraped the information. The short version of how I understand that it works is you ask Perplexity a question, so you type something in, it searches the web, finds various sources, gathers the info, and turns it into a well-written answer that also includes footnotes. And I believe, which you might be familiar with, Perplexity also offers suggested questions to ask, really to encourage you to dig deeper, and maybe they're questions you wouldn't have even thought of. I think he and I would probably get along really well because you know that phrase, always be testing in the marketing world and any other world, really. Mine is always be learning. And I'm
Okay.
pretty certain he would agree with me. Maybe I'll ask him one day. So, my question is, you probably already know my answer to this one, but do you think Perplexity's approach could replace traditional search engines like Google, or will it complement them?
I still find myself Googling a lot, like the majority of things. And I kind of wish I used Perplexity more because I think it is a really cool tool, but my habit is to just open a new tab and go straight to Google. I think especially for specific use cases, like where referencing and being fact checked is crucial. So like, educational purposes, students, and even in the corporate world, in the business world where you're writing a report and you want everything to be factual. I think it will start to become more prevalent in those fields than Google search. What do you think? Do you think it'll end up replacing or half and half?
So I'm not at a point yet where I'm fully trusting AI enough. And whenever I'm doing research, which is typically the reason I'm on the internet, I need to know I'm getting a reliable source. So my go to for now is Google or any
Yeah.
other reliable search engine, which even then, Google might spit out some pages like The Onion, as an example, which will spoof on something, or a tabloid. So you have to be able to go through the sources that Google shares with you before you end up clicking on one of the links anyway. But interestingly enough, when he was talking, there was almost like one question about speed, latency and different things. And Arvind was like, we're not even competing with that. Like, we're not trying to become Google. We're not trying to become Bing. That was at least the vibe that I was getting from him, that that's not their goal. Their goal is not to become the next Google.
Yeah, that's interesting that he defines themselves as a completely different category to Google. I guess the interesting thing though is people could suddenly start preferring that category, and in that case it would still overshadow Google. It's not direct replacement, but people may prefer that way of doing things.
I do not have a magic 8 ball or a, what are those things called? A magic ball? Crystal ball. I do not have a crystal ball. Anyway, this was fabulous, and I cannot wait to chat again next week.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Joe. Be next week.
Have a good day.
It's fine.